Is this bit as comfy as it looks? You tell me. Ooh, look at that, dude. Oh. Actually, I don't know. I mean, how many people are actually playing the build or a similar build to it? Do you want me to like go over all my gear real quick? Now that it's actually kind of done now. Honestly, my gear's pretty much done. Do you want me to go over the whole build? Okay, so obviously you might have noticed I got 2 weapons. This weapon, just for mapping, for the explodies. This mapping is when I want to whip out the big dam. Chest. This one is the main problem with this build. You really want 4 red, 2 blue, like optimally. That gives you access to like the optimal set of links. But that combination is really expensive. And then obviously you're also gonna want a good keystone. The good keystones, I think there's like 2 or 3 you can go for. One is Avatar of Fire, but then you don't get explosions, which is bad. One is, you could go the Shade, but then you can't unspec it. Might be a bit annoying sometimes. Ghost Dance is perfect. Ghost Dance is BIS. It saves you a bunch of passive points. But I found one with Magebane, and this actually gives me, how much spell suppression? I think it's like 15 spell suppression. So it actually gives me the spell suppression cap. Otherwise, I would need like legit perfect rolls in all my gear, which is like a nightmare. Some advice here is you don't have to have 4 red, 2 blue. You can get it way cheaper if you just change like literally just drop cruelty for swift or deadly, and that's gonna give you like a similar amount of damage. I would recommend deadly, but that's gonna give you a similar amount of damage, and it's gonna be way cheaper. Obviously, I did go for the optimal colors because I'm a streamer and I wanted what I wanted. But this combination, like this chest, I think costs a fuck ton. So hypothermia is great. Hypothermia is fantastic. So I would personally recommend not going for these colors. It's like, I would say 5 times more expensive to buy these colors, and you get like 5% more damage. So it's like 5% more damage versus 5 divines. It's like not worth it, right? 1 divine per damage point is fucking terrible. But you know me. I mean, yeah, I just fucking bought it anyway. Ring, Synth Implicit, you could go for Flammability Fracture, you could roll Flammability with Caster Reforge. Implicit's just easy. Like, I think this cost me 2 divines for a good eye level. Right, so because you have a massive dex problem on this build, which you solve early on with careful planning right here, but you do want to swap out of that. So I rolled this with Attribute, Catalyst, and Shrieking Essence of Sorrow? You would probably actually, honestly, I maybe should have considered doing Deafening here, but this works fine anyway. I just did that until I had 2 good suffixes. Optimally, if I was gonna recraft this, I would probably go for Deafening Sorrow with a T1 suffix, and then I would do suffixes cannot be changed, Reforge Chaos, and hope to land a high Chaos roll. So I probably will eventually try to recraft this, but this is fine. And saves me having to use the Divine. And then you do have to use the Divine though. Now this is, if you don't know about this tech already, you can get 60 life on your jewelry, for free pretty much. Well, specifically rings, I think works really well. Because if you block mana when you unveil, it's like a 90% chance or a 93% chance to hit the life unveil, as long as you block mana. So you do suffixes cannot be changed, veiled chaos, block mana. So if you land full stats here, it kind of bricks, by the way. I mean, yeah, it is what it is. But that's a 1 in 10 for that to happen, so hopefully that doesn't happen. So you can still salvage it because you could just unveil life anyway, right? But you block the mana, you unveil the life, you craft the mana roll, easy clap. Ring, you just buy it, lol W, obviously. My glove, I actually bought this. I just literally searched for these rolls and they were like 100 chaos. There's lots of gloves like this because of ROG. So, and remember you can res swap, so you just need any high res, any high dex, any high spell suppression. And I had the life on here already, but you could obviously craft down the life, so the Eldritch currency still exists. So when it comes to chest helm, gloves, and boots, you can still Eldritch Currency craft this shit, which is exactly what I did for my helmet. So the helmet, I used Deafening Essence of Envy until I hit the Chaos Res, Spell Suppression, and any good res. You can see I actually kind of settled here on the suffixes, but these are good enough. Then I did Eldritch Chaos until I hit the life rolls. I got really lucky to hit the hybrid life, but the high life roll is deterministic enough. But you can see my helm's fucking insane now. I got really lucky with the hybrid life. Worth pointing out as well, I didn't talk about this, but the implicits on the gloves matter a lot. You see I have perfect ignite chance. The reason being, I don't know if Rue goes for this, but you can go for a medium. I think I have it actually in my stash still. You can go for one of these, right? Fan the Flames. This gives you proliferation of 15. The problem is it costs you a cluster jewel, a medium cluster, which is like 4 passive points or 3 passive points or whatever. I think it's 3. But then it also, actually maybe it is 4. But anyway, but it's also smaller than the gloves. So I went for the glove proliferation because it's 2 extra radius, which is really, really neat. Obviously the Hell Enchant, very nice to make the cooldown of this really short. I think the reason you can't, a lot of people are probably wondering why you can't swap to Vortex early. There's 2 reasons. Number 1, a lot of your damage comes from your boot and your glove implicit, the exposure mod, which procs your ascendancy, which gives you massive amounts of damage, and the boots, which gives minus rage, which is the massive amount of damage. But the other reason is actually due to cooldown. If you look at Vortex, if you look at like a level 1 Vortex real quick, the cooldown of this thing is actually 1.8 seconds, which is fucking terrible. Can you imagine playing with a 2-second cooldown on your main ability? But if you run, if you get all the gem levels, the qualities, the helmet chance, everything, the cooldown is 0.6 seconds, or 6.8, which is, I mean, when I'm ready, you can see I can practically, I can literally just chain it. The shield's a big one. I just got this fractured, definitely the play. And you actually do want the spell crit on here, and you also want life, and you also want energy shield. The energy shield, so this is the reason you might feel squishy. I'm running Ghost Dance, right? Which recovers my ES when I get hit. But look what happens to my energy shield without my shield. It's useless. So I'm getting hard carried by the ES on the shield. You really need the ES on the shield. So, honestly, I got really lucky with this craft. I think I was just spamming woe essences. Yeah, I was just spamming woe essences. So, I actually lucked the fuck out super hard. And then I also have now, just crafted this morning. Chat told me how to make this one. So, I bought a belt with life and res, and then I hunter slammed it. You have a 1 in 3 chance of hitting life. Because if you try to buy a belt like this normally, it costs like 10 divines. So, yeah. Now, this is not tier 1 max life. This is only tier 2, but, you know, it works. So, it's good enough. Good enough. Now, obviously, that's not all. Obviously, I have 4 flagellant flasks. You kind of need a perfect roll now. Before you could get away with 5 or 4 or 6 or whatever. Now you do need a perfect roll, so you need 3 charges on every single slot. If you don't have 3 charges, you barely even feel it. I mean, it makes a huge difference going from like 1 or 2 to 3. So, and then obviously I haven't talked about the jewels. Now, originally I ran a Lethal Pride, but I have an amulet with a bit of strength on it. This was actually from Ritual, by the way. I have a life +1 non-damaging ailment amulet with strength. And originally I was like, the strength is a waste, right? But I found out Lethal Pride is not that much better than just running Grand Spectrums. So, for now at least, until I hit level 100, I'm gonna run 3 Grand Spectrums with a Void, Frenzy, and Endurance. So combined with my Helm, I have 16 Fizz as LE, and 3 Endurance charges, which means I can actually just about tank a Shaper Slam. Which I think is, without Molten Shell, which I think is really neat. That I'm basically like, I'm actually quite tanky against Fizz with the helmet plus the endurance charges. So that's, and the armor, obviously, so. And then the Frenzy's giving me attack and cast speed, which is nice for shield charge, damage, and then Now, this is the new tech. This is what Rue is not doing, and I really like it. With this jewel and these boots. Now, these boots I bought with suppression, spam loathing essences. Then I ashlinged the suffix, got really lucky. It removed the stat that I didn't want, landed the non-damaging, and then I was able to craft the life the same way I did the helmet, right? You just do the Eldritch currency, like you Eldritch Chaos spam it, and just craft onslaught. It still has a prefix, by the way, so I could exalt this like right now, but yeah. Anyway, I have the avoid ailment implicit, the avoid ailment from the loathing plus that, and then one thing I did have to change. So normally you anoint melding, which gives you the energy shield, but I anointed thick skin because that gives me the. I'll tell you a story. I got debated by POB. I don't know if it shows updated now. No, it still shows it. This is a lie. This says 15% per grand spectrum. It's 12. So originally when I was making this build, when I was swapping, I didn't know. So I was just a little bit off, and so I had to change my anoint. So luckily thick skin exists, but if thick skin didn't exist, I wouldn't be ailment immune, which would have sucked. So I was wondering how you got full ailment immunity. Well, yeah, originally I thought I had enough, but I had to change my anoint. This is honestly fine though. This is honestly fine because I do have enough energy shield for ghost dance, like just enough. So and then the cluster, this gives me shit tons of damage, res, and then leech. So that gives me my recovery and yada 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 yada. So, but yeah, beautiful build.